My favorite phase. Okay, so we're going to move into this banner. And we start out with a doozy, a USB that is better than all four of the relics on the previous banner. So we're off to a good start. And we're going to take a look at it. I've talked about it before. Yeah, let's see. 5.5 hours is when the next lucky draw hits. Terra's USB, Omen. We've seen it. We've seen the potential of it in Global now, with how powerful she is in Magicite dungeons. But we're going to talk about it because it is a very unique USB and just fantastically powerful. 10 single attacks grants attach fire to the user and grants X Magitech to the user for 25 seconds. And that's the important part. 25 seconds of X mode is the only X mode USB, not just X mode, but you know how a lot of these USBs grant them statuses, the people statuses that do kind of, unique-ish things. Terra gets a 25 second, where everyone else gets a 15. And though in our 30-second clear, our desire to get 30-second clears, duration matters a little less. You want to, when you cast that first USB, you want it to be active for the entire 30-second clear. Terra's will, a lot of other people's won't. It is arguably the most powerful USB in the current crop that we have available to us for that reason. Because the less times you have to cast this, the more times that you have to use Chain Faraga once it gets its 4-hit buff, Meltdown now, and when Meltdown gets its 4-hit buff, and her OSB, which is just insanely powerful because there's another trait to her X Magitech that we're going to take a look at in a second, which sets her apart from others. If you remember, we talked about Lunith, for instance, on the first banner. When he used a wind attack, he got high quick cast 1, which is a ×3 cast speed increase. Now we're taking a look at Terra. Magic plus 30%, cast speed ×2. No condition. No condition. Do you know what this means? Terra can use her USB and then Wrath, because she's a support 4 character at ×2 speed. She is not bound to using fire abilities, black magic abilities, nothing. She can do whatever she damn well pleases with this cast speed ×2 multiplier. And that makes Terra a juggernaut of damage. She can quick cast Wrath into OSBs. With Endfire enabled, plus 30% magic if enabled. And this all works into her trance mode, which she can use at the start of the fight for a 25-second duration, which increases her cast speed again. And increases her magic 20% more. She is one of the highest, if not the highest, one of the highest damage potential characters in the entire game. And this is, if anyone had were unsure of the way I was treating Lunith and Warrior of Light's USBs on the previous banner, because they're good, but when I think USBs and desirable USBs this game, or at this point in the game, we have enough of them now. There are enough available where I can say, you know what, my Mithril is very valuable because stuff like this exists in the game. Nothing on that previous banner can touch what this thing does. This is an awesome USB and an excellent start to this banner. Next up, chicken knife, which, for completely different reasons, is just as gross and game-breaking. Wizards, thank you very much for the follow. And we're going to take a look at this too, because it's worth looking at. Bartz's chicken knife. Oh, Terra, yes. If I pull Terra's USB, I will jump up and just celebrate, and we'll have a new gift to throw on my cheer message. So Terra just does damage. Disgusting amounts of damage, and she can do it non-elementally too. But something Bartz has that very, very few other people have is coverage. Coverage and strong coverage. Because a lot of people, they trade their damage for coverage. Say, Lulu's a good example. Lulu has a BSB with multi-elements. And she loses damage potential, but she can hit more than one ultimate, right? Or more than one element. Bartz doesn't have that issue. On cast, it's 4 elements. It's Chosen Traveler right here. Wind, water, fire, earth. 4 elements. Grants X Spellblade Barrage to the user for 15 seconds. Let's go take a look at what Spellblade Barrage does. Spellblade Barrage is attack plus 30%. Notice the recursion, or the recurrence here. Cast speed times 2. So it works on everything. And cast wind, water, fire, earth barrage after dealing wind, water, fire, earth damage with a Spellblade ability. So though he does get the global cast speed times 2, it is the strength of the status is restricted to Spellblade abilities, which is okay. Because Bartz is a 6-star Spellblade, and Spellblades are an awesome ability school. And we do have a very, very powerful Wind Spellblade and Snow Spell Strike, Water in Engulfing Quad Strike, Fire in I forget whatever. We have a 5-star Spellblade that does the same thing. It's also a Quad Strike, and we eventually get an Earth Spellblade that has a Quad Strike as well. And Earth also has an area of effect, and so does Wind. Tornado Strike, and eventually Quake Strike. Do we have Quake Strike? Yeah, we do have Quake Strike. I forgot that we got it. So we get that too. So, all 4 elements on cast of the USB. And we get a chase here. Whenever he uses one of these Spellblades, and he has access to all of them, whenever he uses one of these Spellblades, he gets a chase in that element as well. And here's the great thing, is these chases are very powerful. Spellblades are very powerful. And Bartz gets, in his Legend Dive, and everywhere, a lot of increased Spellblade damage. He just does a lot of damage. And he does it across 4 different elements. And everyone by now, well, just about everybody, has experienced Magicite Dungeons and understands fully that having one character that can benefit 4 different teams is extremely powerful. Is extremely powerful and is a better pull. Because this is the gotcha, right? I spend 50 Mithril on this banner, and I get a 1 of 11, because we're all getting 1 of 11s, right? Or I am, at least. And if I pull this relic, then that 1 of 11 is more powerful than a lot of 3 of 11s, even if those 3 were really good. Because this is 4 very powerful characters in one. That is value that is not seen anywhere. And let's take a look at that chase, just so I can, hammer home like how really powerful that is. Yes, it does sound like Onion Knight. That's what makes Onion Knight one of the premier S-tier characters in the game, because he's useful. He is so just strictly useful. That was not even a word. Does Chicken Knife appear in standard banners? No, it does not. Chicken Knife has not recurred at any time outside of a festival that we're not even sure that we... Destructively useful. It's kind of a word, isn't it, Drunk Luck? At least everyone would all understand what I meant by it. Anyway, the chase is... it's really nice for chains as well. Disasterific useful. That's good too, Wonder. It randomly deals either 2 or 8 random attacks. And it has a decent multiplier attached to it. And because these are considered Spellblade abilities, he gets a lot of increased damage. Oh, they go together fine, Drunk Luck. So the fact that we have a 2 or 8, which is it's just nice because you're gonna half and half, or if you have luck like me, you're gonna 75-25 towards 2. Anyway, this is really powerful. Just having a four-way chase, like I've talked about it. You get it. This is useful in ways that relics simply aren't. They just simply aren't. Would I put Terra and Bartz in the same party? Yeah, I would. Bartz gets plus 30 attack through his X mode, and Terra gets plus 30 magic through her X mode, and plus 20% magic through her trance. There's no reason not to use them together because they self-buff themselves just passively. Use a hybrid buff from Onion Knight. And Onion Knight would be perfect because you could use the 5-star fire ability, 5-star fire ninja ability, and you have a 30-second team. I mean, you have a 30-second team with just Terra. You have an absolutely filthy team with Terra, Bartz, and Onion Knight. So I spent a lot of time on those 2 relics, but there's a reason for that, and that's because there are very few relics in the entire game that are as good and as hype worthy as these 2. Hell of a way to start a banner. While Blazing Twin Strike is getting buffed to Blazing Quad Strike. Alright, next up, Cecil's USB. I did mention this briefly on the previous banner. I like it a lot, personally. Sacred Cross. 10 single attacks, grants X Paladin and HP stock 6,000. Okay, would help with Bart's Ninja Water and Ninja Wind. Yeah, he was. Like, Bart's is I can do all the things, and OK is I can do all the things plus a little more. But, there's just 2 of the best characters in the game. HP stock 6,000. Was I lucky to get Cecil USB early? Yes. Cecil USB is very good. And will be very useful in the coming Holy Magicite dungeon. X Paladin is very simple. I'm not going to go look it up. It is simply plus 100% defense. So what we're looking at here is like Warrior of Light's USB, but instead of Warrior of Light's increase in night damage, Cecil gets HP stock plus 6,000. Or not plus 6,000, 6,000. Which is really just, Cecil can't die. And as has been reported in the stream previously, we are going to be getting a 5-star Knight ability, which is going to work perfectly with this, called Divine Cross. It is a copy of Gaia Cross, which does, I believe, a 3.0 multiplier over 2 hits, which is fine, because the real important part about it is the Draw Fire status that it provides him. And Draw Fire is plus 100% defense, and taunts all PHY type attacks to him. What this allows Cecil to do is, instead of being a Life Siphon bot, this allows him to Divine Cross at the start of a fight and taunt all PHY attacks to him and use the RM Lionheart, which I believe is one of the best RMs in the game. And generate a lot of soul break just by getting hit, and it's perfect for Cecil because with his USB, you don't mind taking all of those hits, and because he's going to be HB stock 6000ing himself. And you will be doing it over and over and over again. And here's another combo at play here. And the best part about it is you're getting plus 100% defense from the Draw Fire status in Divine Cross, and plus 100% defense from X Mode Paladin. This makes him a great Guardbringer user. So, and Guardbringer is one of the most highest damage 5-star abilities in the game. So what you have here is a great tank taunting passively while doing excellent holy damage. I really like this USB. It is not. I feel like I'm hyping it. Don't get too hyped because it's not as good as the previous two USBs, but it is very good on a very, very good character with a good legend dive. I really like this USB. I think it's really solid and a good addition to the world enders that we just talked about. Oh, it is a. I will mention this. Lightbringer is a plus holy sword and 6-star native, so that's a good relic to get as well. I personally don't have any of those yet. I have a dagger, so the attack is a little lower. This is a holy sword, so this is a good relic as well. Next up, we have right, Strider. That's the point. Is it keeps the banner excellent. There's nothing about that brings it down. Ferris's long coat. We get Ferris's first USB here to give us a little more Final Fantasy V, which I find weird because we get Final Fantasy IV and Cecil, Final Fantasy V and Bartz, and Final Fantasy VI and Terra. And in Global, the two more popular games, because of the way they were launched originally, would be 4 and 6. So I'm a little weirded out that the fact that they decided to augment, or not augment, tack on another Final Fantasy V relic, but I suppose at this point Ferris is probably a pretty popular character in Record Keeper Global, so maybe that does make sense, but I don't know, I question the decision. The USB itself is not really that good. Nine random range attacks. No, that's her second one. I was unfortunately right off the first. 6 group attacks. It's a convergent 1.29 each. And what that means is it's area of effect, but the less people that it hits, the more damage that it does. So it's not area of effect, it's not single target, it's both. So it gets more damage if you're attacking a single person. So it's good in that regard. The problem is that the damage output from Ferris isn't really all that high to begin with, because she's more of a debuffer. I don't believe it's elemental either. Yeah, it's not. And it just gives a pentabreak. So it's just convergent damage and a pentabreak. This is not as powerful as Super Soul Breaks. No, not as powerful. Yeah, I mean, it's not as powerful as some Super Soul Breaks, which is unfortunate. It's only made better by the fact that Ferris is such a good character, being the only support in the game that can be a dancer as well, a full dancer as well as a full support. It's really good, but it definitely doesn't live up to the other 3 relics on the banner. I personally wouldn't be too thrilled to get this. I would use it, but while the other 3 will definitely find time on A teams, this one would not. Well, it would be sparingly when, like, full throttle, when I have extra Soul Break to use, because I do use Fares often. It's just not that good, and unfortunate that we didn't get something better on the banner. And next up we have Bartz's BSB3, which is not typical. It's one of the new crop in BSBs, with the fact that it increases his Spellblade damage. Well, first off, it's an Unearth Spellblade, or an Unearth Soul Break. And the first command gives him increased Spellblade damage, while the second command gives him a really cool attack, and I think it's a resistance buff. It's a resistance buff. So it's a really cool thing that he gets on the second command. And what's really meant to be done here with this Soul Break by itself, actually isn't in the game yet. What you're going to want to be doing is use the second command to get the attack buff, and then the first command to increase your Spellblade damage for a couple attacks, and then use the 5-star Earth Spellblade that we'll be getting in the future. Yeah, it's Make Yoshisui. Really excellent status. But for now, since his commands are considered Spellblade, there's nothing wrong with just spamming the first command. The first command just isn't as powerful as the 5-star Spellblade that we will get. So this that ability that we get in the future will increase the effectiveness of this. The other primary usage of this BSB is because the chicken knife, one of the elements on it is earth. What you can do is use the chicken knife and the great sword together by him getting entrusted. So that gives him a strong earth spellblade to use with his commands, and it gives him an earth, which also increases the damage output of the chases that the chicken knife provides. So they go together really, really well. Right, like Drunk Lux says in chat, the USB plus BS3 together is just complete Hydra destruction. His BSB3 commands are Earth and Wind. That's correct. So that does mean that you can use his commands as Earth or as Wind, but I mean, the reason why I said that we get a good combo out of Chicken Knife and Great Sword is because you get the N Earth, while you're not getting N Wind. So you're just kind of getting weak burst commands. Because remember, burst commands are weak. They don't really add up. They don't match 5-star abilities. And in Bartz's case, he has access to some really great wind stuff, like Snowspell Strike. So I don't think that I would use his BSB3 and USB together to get earth damage or wind damage out of him, just because I think that's a waste of his Soul Break gauge. So this is a good BSB in its own right because of the upcoming 5-star Spellblade, and a very good combo with something else on the banner. So right away in the BSB section, we have something really good and desirable. Next up, we have one of the just a completely unique relic. There is no other BSB in the entire game that does what this does. Celeste and her BSB2 has one of those very, very powerful on-entry casts, which I will go into just because of its uniqueness. Invincible Blade, 8 single attacks, attack and defense plus 35% to the user for 25 seconds, and grants haste and Grand Cross. This is unique for one reason, and that's Grand Cross. There is no BSB in the entire game that can do this. Grand Cross is taunt all BLK, WHC, BLU, that's very rare, but they do occur, type attacks to you and absorb them and regenerate an ability usage, which is a really nice thing. Yeah, Celeste is a win button. She's been very, very good for me. I'm happy that I have her BSB too. But the interesting part, well, that is the unique and interesting part, but there's another interesting part about it as well, is that if you consider Grand Cross to be the benefit of the BSB entry, like with Bartz, it's the Unearth. So Grand Cross is the benefit here. Where does the attack and defense plus 35% add in? It doesn't. It's just free. She gets added benefit that very, very few people do on their BSB entries. Just a free attack and defense buff. And it's good for Celeste because she kind of does need it. And what it really does, and we see it even stronger in her commands, is that she has a Dark Bargain command to give her even more attack. It's good for Celeste because of Celeste's Grand Cross, you want to be able to use her on any team where Grand Cross would be useful. And sometimes those teams end up being mage teams, just because of the boss you're fighting. And Celeste works well on those mage teams because she self-buffs herself with her entry, attack plus 35%, and on her command 2, 30% more attack. So Celeste is a hybrid knight that can hit 2 different elements equally, holy and ice, unless you have her BSB 1, and then you can combo them together to do a whole lot more holy damage because of the unholy status on her first BSB. If you happen to have her LMR, she is definitely even better. The 25% dual cast is sexy. This is just a really, really, really useful BSB, and is to BSBs what Bart's USB is to them. So an excellent addition to this banner. Next up, we have one of the most potent buffing BSBs that we have access to in this game right now, and that's Mog's BSB. I know not a lot of people talk about it, but they should, because this would probably replace Onion Knight for me in a lot of teams. I use Onion Knight because it's okay. I'm getting plus 30% magic, whether it's Mog or Onion Knight. But the advantage here is that Mog is also a dancer. So Mog can be a replacement for Onion Knight and be a very effective debuffer in an area of effect. And we've seen this very often in our multiplayer games that we host in the stream, is that one Mog can be your Judge, Jury, and Executioner when it comes to support. And that should be a common theme that we see across the entire lifespan of the game. The more roles that you can condense into one single character, which opens up your ability to use your other slots for other things, the better. Mog is a very, very powerful and useful character because of his BSB, which is haste to everybody and magic in mind plus 30% to everybody. And the commands, and here's where he gets his usefulness from, is one is an instant cast Curaga plus heavy regen, which is a really nice command to have because there are a lot of situations where you just need somebody for that turn to help out your healer. And by doing so, you allow yourself to dedicate less resources to healing, more resources to dealing damage. And his second command works that way as well, where he does a single target holy attack, and inflicts Magic Breakdown. There's very few fights where Magic Breakdown isn't useful. It's unfortunate that the Magic Breakdown isn't area of effect, but okay, the BSB can only be so strong, right? It's not Celeste BSB 2. But it's still very good. It's still very good, and I think a lot of people that follow this stream and play games with us, have seen the amount of situations that I've been in where I'm like, God, I really would like Mog's BSB 2 right now, or Mog's BSB. And I do. It happens very often. I think this is a very powerful BSB, and I'm really happy to see it here. Next up, we have Realm's BSB. This is our first healer relic of the entire festival. It's a Cura entry and gives everyone in the party Last Stand. And we know how powerful Last Stand is. That's just a really awesome thing to have. And the commands are the basic. 0 cast time Kiraja on first command, and second command is a Medica. Realm is a really good healer, and what's crazy is that Realm isn't even a really good healer because of her BSB. Well, actually she is. She is just with her BSB. But her actually defining characteristic is her USB. Unfortunately, that doesn't occur on this festival. But that's something else you can look for in the future and getting for her. But her BSB is always going to be useful because it is one of 2 healer BSBs in the entire game. And even with the ability to upgrade in the future, healer BSBs aren't unaffected by that because heals do not like get upgraded. So opening up your ability slots on your healer while giving yourself 0 cast time Curages and just a spammable Medica means that healer BSBs will always be powerful. And Realms is semi-unique in the fact that she shares her entry, the last stand on the entry, with Penello's BSB2. They're both very good. I prefer Realms. Why do I prefer Realms? Let's go take a look at Penello's. And that's going to be on a strong Final Fantasy XII banner. If anyone would like to find out about that, or find more information about that Final Fantasy XII banner, please ask me after I finish the banner. Okay, so the difference here is Penello's is a Curaga Medica to Realm's Cura Medica on cast. So Curaga Medica and Last Stand on cast, and the commands... Alright, here's the difference, and here's why I prefer Realm. Even though she has the weaker entry, Realm has the 0 cast time Medica. Or not Medica, Curaja command. Which, as I'm sure anyone who has one of those has really understood how powerful that is. And I just prefer that. I prefer that Curaja over the Curaja plus high regen that Penello gets. They're both very powerful healer BSBs, don't get me wrong. I just prefer Realms. And, that's nice to have. That's nice that that is available on this banner that we've already established is probably really damn good. So that's just an excellent healer BSB. And I just pulled this. And so if you want me to add in my bias, I just pulled this on the healer BSB draw. Lucky that we have active right now. And you all saw my excitement. Like, it was a 1 of 11 and I didn't care. I do not care because that is an excellent relic to pull. That is so worth my 25 mithril. Okay, so moving on to Seodor's BSB. Seodor's BSB is actually really cool. The entry is, he's low damage, but he's high utility. He is a healing paladin. The entry for his BSB is 40% health to the entire party. That's a Medica. And 40% means it scales. I mean, I made this case back when I first started streaming Record Keeper for all you, old folk that were around back then, where I sung the praises of Ramza's Tailwind and Yuffie's Clear Tranquil. That 40% will never be power crept because it's a scaling. Yep, we are talking Yuffie, sorry, God, Yaffie. I'm gonna run the gamut and how many ways I can say her name. So that's a really interesting Medica to have on cast on one of which should supposedly be a damage dealer, and it gets better. The first command, Yiffy, the first command that he has on his BSB heals the lowest HP member of your party for 25% of their maximum HP, and it does holy damage. And his second command is an area of effect holy damage that removes a status from a random member of your party that's inflicted with a negative status. It's an Asuna, a smart Asuna. That's just really useful. I'm discussing Banner 2. And remember what I talked about with Mog's BSB. The more that you can, the more potential or more strength or more usefulness you can condense into a single character, the less you have to devote elsewhere. If you could potentially use Seodor as the only healer in your party, and a lot of 30-second clears involve this, is not using a healer, because you're killing the boss so quickly, it's not, the boss doesn't gain any extra attacks just because you're killing the boss quickly. So you're taking less overall damage. If you could potentially heal yourself and use him as a healer and a damage dealer. He can replace someone and make your clear even quicker. He is a potential character in 30-second clearing Magicite dungeons. Wholly obviously. He's not going to... The damage that he doesn't do a lot, okay? But he does something and heals the party at the same time. That's his value, and if he's not hitting something that's wholly vulnerable, he's not going to deal a lot of damage at all. So I wouldn't count on it outside of the Holy Magicite, but otherwise, inside that one, he can actually be really good. But he's good elsewhere as well. He's an amazing Sid mission character. Having a medic on somebody that's also a damage dealer is just disgusting. So he removes any difficulty from... Sid missions. Oh, that's actually a perfect point by Epic Wander. The Final Fantasy IV tournament that I believe is still active, D200 CM and the D103 Sam would just be creamed by Sador. He's perfect for it. Well, I call it the Wholly Vulnerable Magicite. Same thing. Everyone knows what I mean. Okay, so this is I personally don't think this is as good as anything that we've seen so far on the BSB tier, but it's still good. It's got a use, and it's the Torment Sid missions are some of the hardest content in the game, non-Magicite. So allowing you to clear that would be powerful. If you've already cleared them, this has a lot less usage, but it may still find a place on your Magicite team for exploiting Holy vulnerability. Next up, we have our first truly disappointing relic on the banner, and that's Rose's BSB. It's just, I think it's just damage on entry, and the healing too. Damage and healing on entry, and 2 disappointing commands. Rose's BSB sucks. Holy Ray. Yep, 5 group attacks and Kuraga Medica. And her commands are a single target, non-instant, grants magical blink to one character, and a Medica. This BSB, it's a healer BSB, alright, but it sucks. Yeah, Shice. It's a very good point. It's 10 mine for your... for the people that have Rose's USB. It's not that good. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Rosa has a pretty awful Legend Dive. She has a pretty awful BSB. She redeems herself with that USB a bit. But other than that... Oh my god, I didn't realize how dark it is in here. My monitors are so bright though, so it hasn't been that much of a problem. Yeah, that's true. She does have support 4. So she's got some usefulness. Yeah, I deliberately understated that, Solus. And next up, we have another kind of disappointing relic, is Rydia's BSB-1. It's just a basic and Earth Mage BSB. The only defining characteristic is something that may not actually be that useful, and that's the fact that the entry too, but the entry and summon commands are summoning damage, which means that she's not going to cause counters to happen. If anyone saw my lead-in to today's stream, I did a Final Fantasy III Torment clear, and under 40%, that damn Bahamut and his stupid Kuraga on himself, Kuraja, did not trigger when Alphino hit him with his BSB. That's because Alphino does SUM type damage, and SUM type damage cannot get countered, and Rydia has that benefit. Otherwise, it's just your typical Earth BSB, and that's all. It really doesn't do a whole lot other than that. It gets crept out, really. It's one of those vehicles. It's like a super soul break that gives her... Yeah, but she can... Yeah. I know she has Zulcast summon LM2, but she can just summon normally. It's an N-Earth Super Soul Break. Uh, this is like Rydia. No, not Rydia. Renoa, another five letter character starting with R and ending with A. Renoa has a Super Soul Break that gives her an Earth. It's actually pretty good. It's a piece of armor with plus Earth damage on it. But it's basically similar to that. I would consider this kind of a slightly better than Super Soul Break, which unfortunately isn't something that we want to see on one of these banners. But it's alright. Yeah, we can take a moment to remember how good Alphino is. I don't mind doing that because Alphino is disgusting. Oh yeah, her water BSB2, Rydia, is much better than this because it actually has value beyond being SUM type. Because it gives her quick casting, a good quick casting. I think it's quick cast 2. What was the line you used? A crumpled piece of paper can unearth. Oh no, I usually use Nutless Monkey. If any of you have seen Tropic Thunder, I'm a disciple of the script of Tropic Thunder. And next up, we have what I consider to be a fairly decent BSB. That would be Golbez's BSB, which is a funky looking, horny. I used to think it was like a tentacle staff because of the kind of the barbs on the horns, but I don't know. I prefer it's a tentacle staff. It makes me much happier that way. Anyway, the BSB itself is really cool. The entry gives him Sentinel. So he kind of works himself into an interesting niche in which no one else really does, being a tank mage. So he's a back row tank. And what was once really a powerful dark BSB, but not as much anymore now that we have access in the future to the 5-star ability upgrade. Because what he could do is use his first command to give him Stone Skin, and his second command, once you have the first command active, the second command is a 4-hit drain. So he basically just taunted and then drained. Which turned Golbez into kind of a silly tank because he's taunting PHY and BLK type attacks to him and absorbing all of that damage, being the tank that he is in the back row, and then draining every turn too. He was a really cool character. It's lost a lot of usefulness because that 4-star or 4-hit drain doesn't do as much damage as what Dire Heal will do in the future. Dire Heal is a 5-star darkness ability that will be buffed to 4 hits. So it's not as useful as it once was. However, this does show up on a Final Fantasy IV event coming up somewhat soon, like deceptively soon because we just had one. That also has Rydia's BSB2 on it, Rydia's USB, and Golbez's USB. And Golbez's USB and his BSB go together very well because his USB gives him Endark and allows him to actually deal a significant amount of damage. Instead of being more tank focused, he can actually, pull the whole package together and great. So it's decent, not as much as it used to be. Dragon got Realm as well? Oh, no, I was talking about me. Okay. So this is decent as a plus Darkness Rod. Dark Rod. I would put it over Rydia's BSB, just because it actually has like a unique usefulness to it, where Rydia's doesn't. And everything is above Rose's BSB. It's the worst relic on the banner by far. But kind of, just a neat thing to have. Thank you for the host, Drunk Luck. Next up, we have Thief's Knife for Locke. Locke is a pretty good fire damage dealing character, and I wouldn't be upset with getting his Imperil Fire. I think he would work really well with my Refia for my fire team. Just being able to use Mob Bomb to get that first Imperil, and then just Ruby spiking with Locke and getting more Imperils. There we go. More Imperils from his BSB up would just increase Refia's damage output. I think there's better Imperil Fires in the game, but I also think Locke is a really good character because he does get developed eventually with a pretty strong USB. I do think this occurs on that banner. No, he gets his BSB 2 on that banner, doesn't he? So it's a neat thing to have for people that want to pull on that banner. Let's go check. Because, that does have an effect on people's desire to pull on this banner, right? We're going to go to my website right now, which I have not been able to update as much as I would like recently, but I will be soon, once I finish my moving into my new place process. Locke also gets the fire chain. That's a good point. That's one of the reasons Locke ends up being a good character. He gets a wide variety of abilities, so he can fit your fire team in whichever way that you need. I think Locke is a really good character. So we're looking for the Terra banner, or it's the Locke banner because it's not really Terra. Terra doesn't really get anything new in the banner that's all that great. Yeah, Locke's BSB 1 does not occur here, so it is something to have, though Locke's USB is Imperil Fire, so that would probably overwrite the usefulness of the BSB 1. So, yeah, if I planned on pulling on the banner in the future, I probably wouldn't care as much about getting this relic, but I don't plan on pulling on this, so this isn't a bad pickup for me, because where else am I going to get Imperil Fire? Not Balthier, because I plan on pulling on that Final Fantasy 12 event. But Balthier is N-Fire, isn't he? And this is also important, because that's a very powerful Final Fantasy 12 banner. Yeah, it probably is Lemonade. That's why, that's why. If you plan on pulling on that banner, I'd be less thrilled with getting this. Yep. His Balthier's USB is N-Fire, and his BSB is Imperil Fire. Alright, so, yeah, I'm not really all that in on getting Locks, because I do plan on pulling on this banner. But it's still something. It's still good. It's a good BSB. SM373, thank you very much. I'm actually really happy every time festival season comes around because, a lot of people want to watch this. A lot of people want to have open discussion, reactive discussion, instead of how we get on, Reddit and other forums, Balthier BSB also has Imperil Fire commands. You're right. Balthier is a very powerful Imperil character. He's a much better Imperiler than Locke does. I would probably Legend Die Balthier if I got his stuff. I think he's that good at what he does. So that would kind of discourage me with this. And lastly, we have Gogo's BSB, which is not really that great at all, but is a very unique relic. It is the only relic, I think, the only mage relic or weapon in the game that gives plus water damage. So that's kind of cool for that. You're not really looking for the BSB. Yeah, Go and his Rod of Water. So this is actually a good pickup. I would be happy with this. Personally, I would probably never use this BSB, but I would be more happy with picking up Gogo's BSB than I would Locke's, because it has more A-team usefulness, plus elemental um, relics are something that you can put onto an A team, and they'll always be really good on an A team because you can put them on other characters. Um, and over time, as power creep hits, and you get different characters, like if I want to replace a water mage or a water, ninja, like Onion Knight or something, if I want to replace them, I can always do that, and this will carry on over to that person. So it's kind of a rare benefit to elemental weapons and armor. That's why you're going to see me place such a high value on elemental stuff. And we've seen it in Magicite dungeons. We have no synergy there. So having plus elemental, plus 20% damage that we're getting from these relics is really powerful because we're not getting any synergy for the plus stats. So how do I feel about this banner? It definitely tapered off near the end, didn't it? A lot of really like either average or not that good stuff. Like, even though I want this relic, it's not exciting, but it's fine being on the banner. And I guess you could say the same for Lox. You could say the same for Golbez. You could maybe be able to say the same for Rydia's. You definitely don't. This is like a black mark on the banner, Rose's BSB. But if you don't have a Final Fantasy IV Medica, maybe that's okay. Yeah, Saros. See what Saros says. It really kind of hammers home my point about the Water Rod. Is Dorgon's plus Wind Sword that we had on the Final Fantasy V banner recently is a really powerful relic, especially for Magicite dungeons, because you just augment the guy, and now you have a powerful wind relic for using on a wind physical character. Oh, it's definitely not Banner 1. Even the bottom half of this, none of this is as bad as the bottom Banner 1. Rose's BSB is better than all three of those. That is how bad this shit is. And pardon my French. I know there's a lot of viewership, and I want to try to control my rage and temper. I'm such an angry person. But from this point on, I think Seodor and up, we just get better. Seodor's is good. Realm's BSB is a fantastic healer BSB. Mog, Celeste, and Bart's are all like A tier or above. And then a very powerful, top end. Definitely don't really care about seeing Ferris's long coat here. But these three, especially these two, are two of the best USBs that we're going to see in this festival. I personally think this is a pretty good banner. It's so good that I'm going to take a look at it for my own sake right now. I try to evaluate subjectively. And now we're gonna throw my personal bias in. Would you recommend we pull or not on Banner 1 if I have no dupes? I would not. I would not. I don't think Banner 1's really worth pulling on. We have an absolute yes, an absolute yes. These are definitely worth more than a single yes. This is another yes. This is okay. This is a no. I have a dupe. This is a no. It would be a dupe. Yes. No, because it's a dupe for me now. And then I don't care about stuff from here down. This is my cutthroat way. I apologize to everybody out there that actually, has a more broad desire for relics, but I actually don't even want Santor BSB. It's okay. There's a lot of okay stuff here, and okay usually isn't enough to get me to pull. Here's the thing, though. Mog BSB and these three USBs may be a good enough high end to get me to go for it. I hate this bottom end. I'm not really thrilled with getting any of this stuff. It's all just kind of bleh. Why didn't that copy? I'll take a look at that later, Microsoft. These are 50 mithril, yes. I'm going to read chat for a second because I couldn't come to a real decision on whether or not I want to pull. Yeah, Goldbest BSB has fallen a bit. The ability upgrade hit it hard. Everything in all of these banners is 1% Epic Wander, yes. There are 14 relics on each banner. So the 14% is evenly distributed. Yeah, chat is pretty fast. It's tough for me to keep up. I'm a slow reader. What BSB are you referring to, Dragon? No, Goldbest BSB is plus 30% magic, which is another kind of a blemish on it. It's 30% magic, which means it's a naked, not unique status, which means it would not stack with Memento Mori. At least as good as Dire Heal? I don't know. Let's go check it out. I don't think so. Typically, Burst's commands will not be as good as 5-star abilities. His second command is a 10.2 multiplier. Dire Heal, okay. That's not terrible. It's a 10.4. And it gets, does it get buffed? 4 single attacks to... Yeah, okay. It's not bad. Dire Heal doesn't really creep it out. Attach Dark increases the dark damage that you do by 50%. And increases the dark damage that you do with Soul Breaks by 80%. That's what all attached statuses do. Attach Earth, attach Dark, attach Holy. We also use it interchangeably with End Dark and call those End Element or Attach Element statuses. Oh yeah, you do gain a resistance to that element. That's a good point. Often forgot about, even by me. I can't decide. I think this is a banner that I'm going to have to think about like a lot. There's a lot of stuff I don't want here. There's a lot of dupes for me here. Bart's BSB 3, Celeste BSB 2, Realm BSB. There's a lot of dupes for me here and a lot of undesirable stuff. Would really just be rolling for the high-end lottery. It's a good damn lottery. Tara's USB and Bart's USB are really, really excellent, but I think I'll have more of a clear picture on whether or not I want to pull on this banner after tonight's Lucky, the Lucky after that, and the 30 pull after that. Then I'll make a personal decision. All right, so I'll give out a couple more minutes to discuss banner 2, and then we'll move on to banner 3. Oh, Thai food. Shadow, thank you for reminding me. I am actually